What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday we had the State of Play that showed off a bunch of games for Sony. The big one obviously was at the end, Final Fantasy VII Remake. We did a full video on that yesterday if you wanted to kind of get my thoughts over the trailer and the reveal and everything, and the build to E3, as we now know at this point that Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be one of the big things at E3 for Square with their own showcase, so that'll be really cool. Then we also heard from Nintendo a bit about the 3DS and kind of their plans going forward for it, but they also told us about their E3 plans. So we have all of that and more today, guys. As always, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to like button, it does help out, and get subscribed to this every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time. And then on the weekends, we have some fun with other things, unboxings, some disassembly of some accessories coming up for the Switch as well, which should be interesting. I bought a radiator for the Switch, so that should go over well, I think. Today we're actually going to start with Crash Team Racing, which is coming out next month on all the platforms and everything, and it's pretty exciting. If you remember Crash Team Racing from back in the day on the PlayStation 1 where I played it, it was really fun, but it looks like Activision's actually going to be taking it to like the next level, it seems, as they announced that you will actually be able to customize your character and the cart. So the cart, you can change out the wheels and the stickers on it, and that seems the paint job, the base of the cart, and then you can also change out the look of your character. And the way this is gonna work is when you go through adventure mode, you will collect these, or you can collect special coins, or it seems to be like you get these coins and you buy customized parts at that time. Makes me wonder, because it's Activision, let's be honest here, about microtransactions in the game. I'm hoping there aren't, and it's just, they're just making this game and they're putting it out there, they're gonna sell it, and these are all just in-game things that you earn as you go through what they say in adventure mode. So if that's the case, just like adventure mode, you go through, you collect it, okay, cool, that'll give us something else to do if we wanna play like single player. That sounds good to me. We'll see though with Activision, okay, about anything microtransaction related. We also heard a little bit more about the solid state drive in the PlayStation 5 from official PlayStation Magazine, who managed to get a bit of a quote from a PlayStation representative saying, "An ultra-high-speed SSD is the key to our next generation. Our vision is to make loading screens a thing of the past, enabling creators to build new and unique gameplay experiences." So that is, once again, them doubling down on that SSD or that solid-state drive that is going to be in the PlayStation 5. Remember, Mark Cerny put a massive focus on that, leaving mechanical drives with much slower read-write speeds and everything, and much slower access time and everything. It's going to be much faster, and they seem to be wanting to just get rid of load times completely, which would of course also work with hidden load screens, whether it's the elevator from Mass Effect 1, if we all remember that, or doors opening in the original Metroid Prime. Those doors were actually hiding load screens for other areas. So if you get rid of that, doors open automatically. You don't need to have this scripted elevator scene in there. It could actually heavily change the way these games play and how creators approach them. So it's exciting that that is a major focus. Again, though, we come down to cost of the part and the price of the system. That is going to be very interesting to see if they can get a solid state drive in there, Navi technology. Can they get all of this in there for $400, because that seems to be the price they really like. Oh, and remember how we saw that little tease from Xbox and Microsoft on Twitter about something Game of Thrones related? I told you guys it could be a control that they're gonna sell, it could be a system they're gonna sell, but I was pretty confident it wasn't gonna be a game. And it's not. They're giving away a system. Check this out. This is going to be really funny when you find out what the system is. This is actually on their own Twitter account here, where they talk about an Xbox One S all digital edition console that is going to be Game of Thrones themed. They're going to be giving it away. So you can go enter and everything. It's a sweepstakes that they're holding. And unfortunately for a lot of people, it wasn't a new game. That was massive for people. People are really excited about the idea of it. We're coming up to E3. So yeah, you would maybe think that Microsoft would be teasing something leading up to E3, but it's just a giveaway for the season, obviously the series that's ending at this point. Makes sense from a marketing perspective, but man, I have a feeling a lot of fans are a bit disappointed with that announcement, thinking they might be getting more Game of Thrones related content, and it's just a giveaway for a themed Xbox. The Xbox at least looks pretty cool. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're gonna start right away with Nintendo at E3. Now, generally about a month in advance, Nintendo will put out the announcement of their plans for E3, what they're gonna be doing throughout the week. and they put this out on Twitter, as you're seeing here, a full slide that goes over everything. We're starting with Splatoon 2 World Championship 2019. That's going to be live streamed. It's going to start 11 a.m. Pacific time, June 8th. And then from there, we have the Smash Bros. Ultimate World Championship 2019 3v3. And that will begin 2 p.m. Pacific time, June 8th. And then we have what everyone's mostly looking forward to, which is a big Nintendo Direct. It's going to get a look at Nintendo Switch titles for 2019, 9 a.m. Pacific time, June 11th, and that is very exciting. And then to follow up from that, something we would also expect, Nintendo Treehouse Live, 3 days of Nintendo Switch gameplay with developers and Nintendo Treehouse members beginning June 11th. You'll notice there's nothing about the 3DS there, which is probably relieving to a lot of people because, yeah, let's be honest, people were getting kind of bored and even annoyed to see the 3DS taking up time of Nintendo Direct or Treehouse sessions. Now, they say specifically 2019, and there is a lot to go over. Obviously, I know a lot of you guys are thinking, well, we don't know when Zelda's coming out. We just know it's coming out later this year. We don't know when Animal Crossing's coming out. We haven't even seen gameplay for Animal Crossing, right? Luigi's Mansion. I mean, the list goes on for just tons of games that are supposed to be coming out this year. And then there's some we haven't even heard about yet. We need to see more about Pokemon. Tons of stuff. And here's the thing. I think most of those games are actually even going to be played in the Treehouse. They do this every year where they'll take several different games, sit down for an hour or two of gameplay, just playing it. So Animal Crossing, I would expect that in the Treehouse. I would expect Luigi's Mansion in the Treehouse. I would expect Zelda in the Treehouse, Pokemon, and then probably some games that aren't even announced yet. What about Daemon X Machina? Is that going to be playable and straight up in the Treehouse and then release date and everything? There's a lot of stuff to look forward to here, and that's what's exciting about E3. Obviously, the unknown of these reveals of other games that we assume will be revealed, maybe even for this year. So try to figure out those last 6 months to the year for Nintendo, because it's going to get packed. But to see more about the games we already know about, because we all know there's a massive following for Animal Crossing, and the Treehouse will be exciting for that. We always have a lot of fun with the Treehouse every year. It's just serious. They'll sit there for like a good part of the day just streaming games that we're not playing right now, and all we can do is watch. Watching Mario Odyssey, for example, that was a really fun Treehouse. So I'm looking forward to the Treehouse definitely, but the Nintendo Direct's going to be amazing. So let's look forward to it. Let's have some fun and hope for some big reveals. Otherwise, we at least know what we're getting, kind of what we're getting with Animal Crossing and a Luigi's Mansion, Pokemon, and we'll have some fun. But look forward to that. Again, June 11th, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time. We'll see what's going on there, and then immediately following that will be 3 days of the Treehouse. Next up, let's talk about Sony's State of Play. Much better than their first one, by like a lot. Like the first one, of course, a lot of VR stuff. They even finished with Mortal Kombat 11, which was weird. I didn't get that one, but that's what they did. It wasn't great. This one, much better. I like these short form state of plays. They don't have to be 20, 30 minutes long, right? This one I think was what, almost 12 or 13 minutes. It wasn't quite 10, it wasn't 15, it was like right in the middle there. So it was a bit longer than what they said, which was 10 minutes. They told us there will be no PlayStation 5 stuff there, and there wasn't, so I'm glad they also did that. Told us that up front. No next generation stuff, guys. We're just showing you things that are coming up in the near future, although the jury's still out on Final Fantasy VII Remake. Let's be honest here. That could be a late 2020 game for all we know right now. But let's go over some of the stuff here outside of Final Fantasy VII. They started with a Monster Hunter. It was a Monster Hunter expansion they're doing, Monster Hunter World Iceborne. And they did put a release date on that. It's actually coming out September 9th, 2019. So that's exciting for a lot of people. The PC release is just winter, so that seems like that'll be coming after the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One release, so that's exciting for Monster Hunter fans. We also saw MediEvil. MediEvil is awesome to see because that is a game that I'm very excited for, as I like the original one on the PlayStation 1, and that also got a release date, which makes sense when you think about it, but I would have rather it come a bit earlier because I think it's going to get kind of crowded when it's coming out, and honestly might just be kind of forgotten about. October 25th, so about a week at that point before Halloween, which again, makes sense, right? That should hopefully do fairly well around Halloween time, but it looks very, very cool. I love the visual style, and I like that they're doing like what seems to be just a full-on remake of the game. Reminds me, of course, of Spyro, how that was done for this last generation. Predator Hunting Grounds, that's coming 2020. And this is an asymmetric multiplayer experience, so it's similar to Evolve. That's what I thought of immediately. But it, of course, is using the Predator IP, which I think fits perfectly here, where, of course, there's a group of players who are controlling a fire team, basically a group of people who are going to be hunting and trying to destroy the Predator, whereas the Predator is trying to destroy all of the other players. And that's one I'm kind of interested in because it is the Friday the 13th group that's building that, the developers of Friday the 13th. So they have some knowledge and ability to do this. And with Predator, that could be really cool, as long as it doesn't turn out like Evolve, right? Which, yeah, Evolve didn't go so well towards the end, but if it turns out better than that, I think we'll have something here because they have Predator that they can put on it. They also had River Bond that had several different characters actually added in. Shovel Knight was one, for example, Guacamelee, and that's like a voxel art dungeon crawler. So that has a 4-player co-op mode, which looked kind of cool. Away, and this one was kind of interesting. It seemed like you were controlling animals who were trying to survive, so we'll see how that goes over. Again, I think some people were kind of tuning out at that time from what I saw in like the live chat for it and everything. And then we had a limited edition PS4 Days of Play limited edition. I don't at all know why this is a slim PlayStation 4 and not a PlayStation 4 Pro, but there you go. There's a full limited edition PlayStation 4 Slim system there for Days of Play. And then, of course, Final Fantasy VII Remake closed it out, and that was the big moment where people got really excited. Thank you, State of Play, for finally figuring out how to close this out. Your first one did not close out well. This one did. It got everyone really excited. I still have some questions for Sony, like where are all your first-party games that we've heard about for a while? No Death Stranding, that wasn't there at all. Last of Us 2 was not there, which is an interesting thing to not hear anything about any of these games, right? Ghost of Tsushima, again, not there. I'm thinking at this point, these are all 2020 games. Like, I don't really know how you can fit one in now if you're not talking about it prior to E3, which they're not going to be at E3. If they're going to be at E3, I'd say, well, they're saving it for then. That's when they'll show up with Last of Us 2 and Death Stranding and stuff. But at this point, they might just be waiting, and maybe they'll show it at their PlayStation Experience later this year, and one of those 3 will be out early, like Days Gone time, right? Maybe they'll drop it in April or something, and that's how they'll do it. And then we'll move into, I guess, towards the end of the year, and we'll have maybe like Last of Us 2 release. So unfortunately, none of their big first-party games are here, but they had some good ones. And of course, Final Fantasy VII Remake really, I think, saved it for a lot of people. Next up, we did have Ghost Recon Breakpoint announced. We talked about how it was leaked yesterday, but it was fully revealed in a live stream. They did a full trailer, cinematic trailer mostly, and then they did actually quite a bit of gameplay. It's about 15 minutes of actual gameplay that was taking place. And for Ghost Recon fans who are coming from Wildlands, this actually looks pretty good. They even had them cutting the fence, which was something a lot of people were asking about rather than have to run around looking for a way in. You just straight up can cut the fence. It looked pretty cool with kind of the stealth elements they had, a bit of Metal Gear or maybe a little bit of Splinter Cell thrown in there, which was kind of neat. But it does look more like it's going to be futuristic, kind of. Again, it's coming out October 4th for the Xbox One, the PC, and the PlayStation 4. And yeah, it looked like Ghost Recon. It looked fun. I think people who are into the series really going to have a good time with it. And I'll be checking it out as well because I really haven't been into Ghost Recon that much at all recently. I didn't really get into Wildlands, but this one does have my attention, and I'm very curious about it. It does seem like they have 2 different characters kind of set up, the character you're controlling, and then they have a character on the other side that is seems to be the leader on their side with like the ghosts and everything. So I'm interested, but I think I need to see a little bit more when it comes to, is it going to be full open world? Because they showed like a little section of it. Is there going to be like large scale multiplayer battles and everything? There's a lot of stuff I'm curious about here that I'm sure we'll find out more at E3 when they probably do a full gameplay demonstration. But for now, I'm liking what I'm seeing. And our last bit of news is quickly talk about Nintendo and their 3DS. It is pretty much on the way out. We already know that, but they did have President Furukawa actually talk a bit about it at the investors briefing, saying, "Our plans for Nintendo 3DS sales this fiscal year are lower compared to the previous fiscal year, but the demand for Nintendo 3DS is stable, and I expect steady sales as we continue to position it as an entry-level game system, differentiated from Nintendo Switch. As for Nintendo Switch, the lineup of software planned for release this year includes titles for a series that in the past were developed for a handheld game system. Since Nintendo Switch can be played in handheld mode, these titles will potentially give consumers who previously played games on handheld systems a reason to purchase Nintendo Switch." And this isn't surprising at all, Pokemon is on the Switch. That was, of course, the big driving force of the 3DS, the DS, the Game Boy Advance. It's now moved over to the Switch. I actually question if that Zelda game that we're coming out at the end of this year, the Link's Awakening remake, if that would have been something that would have been on the Switch, or if it would have been on the 3DS, if the 3DS was at like the height of its popularity. Animal Crossing, of course, while that did start on home consoles, definitely had a bigger impact on like the 3DS, right, with New Leaf. So that's another one coming back. So I'm seeing what he's saying here, and it does make sense. The 3DS though is on its way out. They're not expecting much at all from it this fiscal year, like 1 million units, and they really just see it as a cheap alternative to the Switch, mostly because they don't want to let go and have just one system on the market. They want two, but from here on out, we just talked about E3, I wouldn't really expect much at all for the 3DS in any of their directs or anything else. So if you were someone who was really annoyed about seeing it, there you go. And we're gonna finish up with our comment of the day coming from Litton Guy saying, I think a lot of people want the US government to pass the loot box ban. If that's the case, then it would cripple EA, Activision, and Ubisoft. So I actually think if that went through, all of these companies can survive without any of these loot box things. They really can. They'll come up with different ways to monetize. It doesn't, I don't think anyway, hinge on these loot boxes. I think they've seen a lot of success, and I think it's done some bad things to their overnight growth because it was gonna hit a ceiling either way without government intervention or not, but they themselves have said they can survive without loot boxes. Now, they could have been saying that to appease the shareholders, the people who have stake in the company right now, but I think they will survive. In fact, I think the only thing that would really, really hurt EA is if they did lose like their major monetization methods through FIFA with Ultimate Team. If they can't figure out an alternative to that in FIFA, I think there would be a bit of a struggle with EA because that is their biggest moneymaker. But I will say this about EA, if they cannot survive selling 20 million copies every single year on an annualized game like FIFA, then that company has problems, and it's not because of loot boxes being taken away. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about, whether it's Nintendo at E3. What do you expect to see? Are you excited? I think a lot of people are. It'll be really fun to see a lot of those games that we've been hearing about actually being played in the Treehouse. Then what'd you think of Sony's State of Play? I'm very curious there, or Ghost Recon. Thanks, guys, for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.